are back on the attack. Welcome to the Gonzo Radio Sports Desk. I think it's cutting off like the crown of my head, but that's okay. It just gets pointier as it goes out of the screen, so I'll hunker down. Welcome back. We've taken a little time off and through the middle of our week actually, because we both have lives and we both have families and we both have stuff to do and life happens, right? So it was a very, very busy sports week. I mean, there was like a game last Sunday.
Yeah, it's pretty important.
I'm professionally putting my phone on vibrate because I know I missed something in the pre-show rituals.
It wouldn't be a show if you didn't miss something.
Well, yeah. Well, like I'm missing out the fact that I have to label myself. I am this guy right here.
Time out. I know you don't like me to cut your intro, but what happened to the Gons? I thought we were Dub Brothers.
No.
You changed that?
I'm Big Daddy Gonzo because I'm also.
Oh wow,
this guy.
that is so nice.
It is sweet. It is sweet and Hob and it just barely on the last snap fits my fat ass. I'm going to wear the belt. You watch. I'm going to wait till I get 2 snaps, though. I've gone through, as a professional wrestler, I've gone through the 1 snap thing, and it didn't work well. It's nothing funny about being a tag team champion and just getting that thing around your waist and, see, look, it fits, and here's your tag team champions, the Redneck Mafia, woo, pop, boom, clank.
It's embarrassing.
Yeah. Nothing falls faster 2.5 feet than a professional wrestling belt when it falls off your fat ass during an intro. Generally, it takes about a half a second. No, it was like it was magnetized. It went,
do you pick it up right away?
Oh, immediately.
Yeah, because it's kind of like the flag. Like you can't really put it on the ground.
Pick it up and
you go, yeah, I mean, you got to show it in pride.
You
and
quickly throw it over your shoulder like this, and you're like, that's right. And secretly you're like, I'm just going to hit the other guy a little bit harder now because I'm mad, because I'm embarrassed. But I am the champ, and you have a trophy. You can show your trophy next week.
I will. I'll bring it in next week.
Because I'm sure in that league, they got you your trophy immediately. Whereas the previous champion held on to this just a little too long.
Yeah, well, I have a question for you.
But he doesn't have a podcast, and I do, so...
Did you clean the trophy when you got it in any way?
I dusted it off, yeah.
Okay, but no like antiseptic sprays of any kind? It
didn't come from Asia. He didn't take the trophy on a Chinese tour of the Huan virus zone in Huan province. No, he did not.
Okay.
Stop it.
Maybe like just a wet wipe,
for God's sake.
Something, that's all.
It was just a head cold.
All right.
I'm feeling fantastic. In case anybody's asking, and everybody's wondering who I'm arguing. I haven't put you on screen one time yet.
It's okay.
I haven't because
they know what I look like.
Too busy playing them out my belt.
They know what I look like.
Yeah, well, there you are. Smile.
Hey, everybody.
Nice
Smile. Okay, so listen. I'm
Wait,
very.
You have a label.
Damas.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You have a banner.
Hello, nice people.
Would you like to borrow my belt?
No, and I was just going to say, it's funny you say, I've never touched the belt. The belt's been in existence now. It's the 3rd year the belt's been circulated.
Right.
I've never touched the belt. Obviously, that means I've never won that league. I refuse to touch the belt until I actually win the belt, because I feel like that when that happens, it's going to be like one of those euphoric moments where like you hear like birds singing and angels crying and all kinds of stuff.
Going nowhere.
Yeah, well,
again,
I'm not touching it until I'm admiring it from afar, but I'm not going to touch it until I own it, and that's my goal for next year. So good luck. Enjoy your belt. You've earned it. But
because this is what it's all about.
You're going to be giving that thing up.
It's the 15 pounds of gold.
And the beauty of
around your waist or shoulder, as you were, or in case you're fat like me,
is knowing that you have the belt. The next day after I win next year, I'm coming over to your house and just taking it.
You're going to have to come and take it from me.
There is no, what do you want to say? My wife likes to use the term, what's it like, the afterglow? Okay, you'll have no afterglow with your championship, because the day after I win.
Let me tell you something, brother. To take this championship from me, something has to happen that has never, ever happened ever in my entire life, much less my entire career. And that is, I'm going to have to be laid out, motionless, unconscious, with zero strength in my body. If I've got a pinky and it's still moving, you're going to have to take this belt from the pinky, and the pinky will defend the belt. Let me tell you that right now. Even a little toe. I'll show you I'll show my little toe.
This sounds like revisionist history right here coming back to us right now.
It's mine.
It's yours, and you've earned it.
I earned it.
You've earned it for sure.
I had to argue with the guru's guru about players. I had to go and make guys. Yeah, no, okay, I got this. Don't worry. So, I have a personnel consultant. He is the guru's guru. You can see him on Facebook on the group that I created, the guru's guru. And he's very, very good at what he does. He's my draft consultant. A lot of the draft picks that he suggested, especially in the late middle rounds, panned out really well. The really obvious draft choices that we thought that were going to kill it didn't do so good.
There was a lot of them. Not from us so
David
much.
Johnson.
I thought we were pretty good.
Yeah, but with the exception of those two, and who knows who could miss on those guys? Okay, who could have missed on those guys? I got David Johnson in the 3rd round, for God's sake. But a lot of the personnel decisions that were made later on in the season, in the middle of the season, like picking up Devontae Parker before he had his first big blow-up game, because I saw, as we've discussed, he checked off a lot of boxes. His target rate was going up. His quarterback situation had gotten settled, okay, but in spite of his quarterback situation, his target rate continued to go up and up. Even with Preston Williams, the rookie phenom, having a great season, his target rate continued to rise, okay, by necessity, but also by virtue of the fact that he was catching everything they were throwing in his direction. So I grabbed him, and he was this catalyst, especially for a couple of the wins down the stretch to get me to the playoffs.
3 weeks, he was inside the top 5.
Yeah. So
he had some big numbers.
It was all in all, I earned it. The guru's guru has played a big part, but I earned that shit. Okay, so I'm.
I want that league so bad.
You can't. It's mine.
I'm so driven for next year.
Yeah. Mine.
So we had a super
beer.
Show 56. This is what happens.
Coffee. We're not at 56.
I don't know.
It's
I threw it out there.
39 or
it felt
40
like
or
56.
something
Well,
like that.
then even
Feels
more
like
so.
100.
Even more so. We had a Super Bowl last week.
It was a game.
Chiefs Niners.
Did we correctly predict that game?
We did. Most people, I think, were on Kansas City. There were a few people that wanted San Fran, obviously, and thought they had a chance. They had a chance. They played good. It's probably a lot different story being written if Garoppolo hits Emmanuel Sanders on one of those last deep balls. You're talking about now the MVP changes. You're talking about now how, it's just a whole different story on one play. Now, I know one play doesn't make the game, but in that situation, that one play would have made this story a lot different.
Listen. Whoa. Let me take you back to the year was 1981. Okay, and the Miami Dolphins were playing the Washington Redskins in the Super Bowl. Okay, against a quarterback. Okay, Joe Theismann, who instead of coming to the Miami Dolphins at a time where he could have actually earned the starting job, out of Notre Dame. The Dolphins drafted him, I believe it was in the 4th round. He said, nah, I'm going to go play Canadian football for a couple of years. And he did well there. Bravo. Good player. Theismann was good coming out of college. But because Joe Theismann had some sort of personality conflict, I'm playing with my belt too. He had a personality conflict with Don Shula, and I think the offensive coordinator at the time. He thought he was going to be inheriting a run-oriented, run-first team, and he wanted to throw the friggin' football.
Makes sense. Yeah, Joe Theismann,
okay.
Right?
So we're playing Joe Theismann in the Super Bowl with the Washington Redskins. He has a mammoth offensive line. When I say offensive line, full of mammoths. They were all 5 were woolly mammoth-sized. Biggest offensive line anybody had ever seen, ever. And they were all big, nimble, hostile, agile, mobile dudes. And the Dolphins went toe-to-toe with them. Boom, 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 boom. The Dolphins had the Killer Bee defense at the time, which was probably the best all-around defense, the number 1 ranked all-over defense at the time. They didn't have the same metrics we had back then. So we're going toe-to-toe, back and forth. I mean, it is just a slobber knocker of a game. John Riggins is getting stuffed. That was the Super Bowl with the iconic John Riggins touchdown run. But previous to that, Joe Theismann was getting killed. Dolphins had probably sacked him about 4 times, slapped balls out of the air, knocked him all over the place. Back then, you could beat the crap out of the quarterback. You could take 2 steps and knock him on his ass.
Yeah, a lot of headshots.
Right.
Back then. Yeah, a lot of reminders.
So, by this time, middle of the third quarter, Joe Theismann's got PTSD. And Bob Baumhauer comes right up the middle, right through the mammoth offensive line, cuts a hole right through, because the guy had one of the quickest steps in football, and he was just massively strong, dude, out of the University of Alabama. Back when Don Shula and Bear Bryant regularly consulted about players, and every Alabama player that ever came to Miami excelled. But I digress. Baumhauer busts through. Theismann tries to throw the ball away. He bats the ball up in the air. He's running underneath it, and Theismann quickly turns and swats the ball away. Okay, just barely. I mean, the ball was right there in his hands, and it was 6 yards from him to pay dirt. And the Dolphins would have taken a commanding lead at that point. I think the Dolphins were up 3 at that point. Okay, and the Redskins managed to turn it around and win that Super Bowl. Okay, there's always a play.
Oh, no question. No question.
You know, David Tyree with the helmet on, the ball on top of his helmet, all of that. Some you miss, some you don't.
I think overall, Kansas City was the better football team.
Yeah, it was
the skill position
obvious.
players clearly at the quarterback position. Mahomes, as good as he was through the playoffs, coming back
Obvious.
the way he did in all those situations. We kept harping about the forgotten man being Mahomes because everybody was on the Lamar Jackson train this year, and rightfully so. Again, what he did this year was more than impressive in many situations. But liberty bibbity. But man, what Mahomes did in those games, coming back the way he did from 3 deficits in each of the games, 7 minutes to go in the Super Bowl, down 10, and you never felt like they were out of the football game. And I don't think there are many teams, many quarterbacks in that situation that you can say that about right now, especially even, let's say, Lamar Jackson. I don't think – I mean, how many of those games would Baltimore have been able to come back from down 24, down 17, down
Lamar's
10?
not there yet, though.
Now, again,
he's still young as hell. He's only 23.
Again, when we do these comparisons, at least when I do it, it's not to necessarily put down Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is an elite quarterback, an elite talent that will progress, that will get even better, which is scary good for everybody.
Maturity.
But
period.
There are special talents in the NFL, and when Patrick Mahomes came out his first year, you saw glimpses of that. You were like, oh, wow. And people wanted to say, well, it's Andy Reid, and it's this, and it's that. This kid is the real deal. He is.
In the preseason of 2018, okay? Before he became a starter, okay? Was it 17 or 18? When did they draft him? 2017?
17. 3 years now.
Okay. I watched this kid play, and he got extended time. And he was throwing those no-look passes, and he was surprising the receivers. They were kind of stunned. I mean, we're talking about backup tight ends. Yeah. We're talking about third-string wide receivers. And they were almost shocked that the ball came to them because he's rolling this way, and he's looking that way, and he's throwing there. He's throwing like a Magic Johnson no-look pass. And it's coming at you 80 miles an hour, and it's coming right at you, and you're like, you're almost doing double takes on the ball. Like, really? He threw it to me? And when I saw that, I said, they're gonna put this kid with the ones. And let's face facts. One of the qualities that makes a starter is adaptability, the ability to play, to improvise, to play on the fly. And you look at all the guys that he's got out there right now. Okay, all the guys that they develop connections with. How do you develop a connection where you throw the damn ball 60 yards down the field and it's got a big high arc and it's hauling ass because he's got a strong arm, and you don't even see Tyreek Hill in the picture, and you're thinking the ball's going to hit the ground, and then suddenly Hill takes 2 steps out from behind 2 defenders who are looking around like this, like where because they hear the crowd go, oh, the ball's up.
You wonder if, obviously, with that 4.3 speed, if he toys with him a little bit. If he toys with him a little bit, and then it's almost like, in the old cartoons when Bugs Bunny used to get up in that last little burst of speed, you'd see that little thing. I wonder if you can actually, if you get the camera angle just right, you may be able to see that with those guys.
They call it a rooster tail. They call it a rooster tail.
Rooster tail. Thank you.
But but how do you do that? How do you roll left? And your tight end is watching you and coming across with you, and he's not even looking at you, and he zips the ball. You have to be ready for it, no matter where he's looking. That's got to drive safeties bananas.
Just an amazing talent, and it's
clear.
Drive
safeties absolutely nuts.
That combination. I mean, I'm glad Reed got his. 20 years in the league plus, and the knock of for some reason you're not a good coach unless you have a title.
Right.
I mean, there's only so many titles to go around. So
right. Well, and you know what? But part and parcel of that, and it has a lot to do with a lot of coaches' successes that have won multiple championships, is that you have to find that special player, that special quarterback, that special running back. Okay, you want to go for the special quarterback because there's a longer return on quarterbacks because quarterbacks play longer. There's a lot more rules to protect their health. They are the marquee player. Okay, and that's of course the objective. But sometimes you get teams that have a special wide receiver, average quarterback.
Right.
You have a special running back. You have other special players, and they win a lot.
I wonder
once you find that special quarterback, and they use a special talent, and Kansas City mortgaged their immediate future to trade up and get it. So.
When I mentioned that one play, if that play had connected, it changes the history, obviously, of the game. All these titles change hands now in San Francisco. Likely. We're talking about and all this other stuff. But the amazing thing about people don't think about football too is on every single play, you have mano-a-mano battles going on across the field. And you don't get to see those because, at least on TV, you're focused on the snap, the quarterback, maybe a receiver, the running back, if it's a handoff or whatnot.
Follow the ball.
Exactly. And again, that's what TV is. But you're not seeing the mano-a-mano battles that on any of those 3rd and 6s, 2nd and 5s, a guy may slip that's got a clear path to a quarterback that you don't see. That if he gets to the quarterback, he causes a strip and a fumble. On every single play, there are plays that could change the outcome of the game. That's the amazing thing about football. Mm-hmm. And that's the amazing thing about how, again, mano-a-mano, 11 guys lining up 11 guys, everybody's touching everybody. So everybody's involved in every play.
Right.
So it comes down to, again, it's very difficult to microcosm a specific play because there are so many of them that you don't see. But you can clearly, on that one occasion, again, it's amazing how despite we go over and we analyze and the sabermetrics and the numbers, that one play, if he does catch that football, Sanders, on that 40-yard deep play, if he doesn't overthrow him and he catches that touchdown pass, history has changed.
Well, what about the pass with offensive pass interference versus George Kittle? That could also change things.
Again, yes.
But I still see Kansas City winning the game, even if Emmanuel scores, even if Emmanuel catches that touchdown. I still see so San Francisco has 7 more points.
And the lead at that
So
point.
they only lose by 4. I'm telling you, Kansas City was not being denied, period.
It's easy to look back and say that, but again, for the listen, Kansas City, again, we said was the better team, and in most situations, the better team wins.
I'm putting your name on this.
But because we have so many variables within the game and so many things that you just can't put your finger on play by play, They earned the victory. They won the game. They were the better football team. But within that game, as good as those teams were, it's clear that those two teams were the best two teams. It's very clear.
It's Joey Bosa's fault they lost.
It's hard to put it on one guy. But all right, Joey.
It's his fault because...
Part of the reason why they got there, though, too.
Well, but...
I mean, he was a big reason, too.
He spent the entire game jaw-jacking in Eric Fisher's ear, the tackle.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay? Jaw-jacking, just chop. And the kid's already got the reputation for having one of the biggest mouths in the NFL. And because he backs it up...
Of course.
He backs it up.
It's part of his game.
But it also makes me just...
Of course. Of course.
How'd all that talking work for you in this game?
Yeah.
In the biggest game of your career.
Yeah.
That, it's a very real possibility. You could never get back to it, pal. Never get back to it. So you know what? You left it all on the field, including all your bullshit talk. So
yeah.
I do not like. I mean, I like guys who chirp a little and can talk a little, but not just walking back to the huddle, coming back up. It's like, shut up and play.
Yeah, that's just part of their game,
Dummy.
I guess. Well, I mean, listen, quick takeaway from the games.
How did it work out for you? Listen, Eric Fisher is one of the best offensive tackles in the NFL, and he's one of the and he's definitely the best offensive lineman they've got in Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you felt you had to chirp the whole time, and what did you get, a half a sack and a batted ball? That was the totality of your outstanding output.
Well, statistically, yes.
Statistically,
yes.
Yeah, sure, he's a disruptive force, and he had to be bumped a lot. He had to be chipped a lot, but he was left on one-on-one with Fisher for a great majority of the game.
Yeah.
Okay, they tried to contain him early, and they said, "Screw it, Fisher, you got him."
Well, I mean,
they
listen,
got rid of the ball faster.
They're winners and losers in every game. Clearly, I think if these two teams squared off against each other, let's say 10 times, KC would probably win 7 of them, in my guess.
Yeah,
but that's again because of the quarterback position,
Mahomes.
Because of Mahomes. Yeah, because again,
those other 3 times you would get San Francisco running the ball for 250 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, and again, not a knock on Garoppolo either. I mean, he had a great year, and they're a great football team, and they're not going anywhere because I think that. When the dust settles, maybe, who knows, 20, 30 years from now, that coach is going to be one of the coaches that we're talking about in terms of being one of the best coaches of all time. Because if you listen to the circles and people around
Shanahan,
him, no question.
He's a great mind.
Pedigree, clearly, and just what he's done with that organization in such a short time, what people are saying about him, coaches, players, not just his own. It's a win for San Francisco. So they're not going anywhere. So it's going to be these two teams again next year, in my opinion, as the front runners.
Well, let me ask you this question. In the next 5 years, how many times are we going to see either one of these teams in the Super Bowl? And how many times are we going to get this matchup in the Super Bowl in the next 5 years? Super prime time for all the young players that are superstars that are just coming into their own. Right now.
I'm going to say that there's probably 3 trips between them, let's say in the next 5 years. And if that's the case, I think maybe on one of those occasions they'll meet. So maybe maybe next year, maybe the year after, who knows? It's tough to look out ahead. I mean, in the NFL, if Mahomes gets hurt, God forbid, other things change and a season's
right,
finished.
Because if you consider them to be the 2 elite teams from the AFC and the NFC,
for sure,
but that next team behind them in the AFC and the NFC, you have to take them very seriously.
No question.
There's too many teams in that upper echelon right now just to say that they're going to be the only ones. But I totally agree with you. Maybe even more that you're going to see either one of these teams in the Super Bowl, and you're going to get at least one more rematch.
It's not just the teams you've mentioned now, the teams that are just, let's say, a notch below them.
Baltimore.
But listen, like we've talked about too, the NFL, 30 years running now, 6 different teams make the playoffs every year.
Right.
And certainly it's been situations where whatever team's sort of kind of gotten hot down the stretch is the team that usually goes pretty far in the playoffs.
Well, and the philosophy is anybody but New England. Nobody wants to see New England in the Super Bowl.
We can talk about him too briefly. Ever. Yeah. Well, they won't be next year because they won't have a quarterback. But
we don't care. You understand? We don't care. We don't want to see them ever again. It's wicked awful.
I think Niners and Chiefs are in a great spot. They're not going anywhere. Great coaching, great quarterback play.
I think Russell Wilson is going to get another shot. Him and Pete Carroll as that combination of coach and quarterback.
I hope so.
Pete's like 70 now. Pete's going to retire soon. And if he wins another Super Bowl.
He's a young 70. He's a young man, though, for 70, if that's what he is.
Spry.
Yeah, he's still getting around. The interesting thing about
me how he moves around. He moves around better than me, and he's like 15 years older than I am.
The reality of it for Seattle this year was the injuries really hurt them down the stretch. They never really had that clear-cut one. Lockett was at times that. They lost Baldwin, so they kind of really never had a number 2.
Metcalf is going to be that guy this year.
He was good at spots this year, too. So, again, I think they're also going to be a very good, viable team.
He started to get it as the year went on. He really started to get it.
Well, listen, every good quarterback would love a good running game. And, that's been Pete Carroll's philosophy, has been run the football. Remember we said Russell Wilson, least amount of throws overall, but most amount of throws in the red zone because they run a good offense. But just real quick mention about Seattle. Chris Carson, phenomenal year. I was high on him. He had a great first half of the year, really started picking up momentum, and then lost for the year. So they never, and then they also lost, who was it? I think they had, the last game, C.J. Procyse was playing for them.
He came back along with Marshawn Lynch at the end.
Yeah, I mean, they were really in trouble. So next year, Seattle is going to be extremely viable as well. Because, again, they've got just as good as a quarterback in Russell Wilson.
Well, yeah, listen. The key for their reemergence or their how can I say their reemergence as an elite team, because I see Russell Wilson as one of those special talents.
Those are the best two quarterbacks in football. Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes are number 1 and 2 in football in terms of quarterbacks. Yeah.
He's another guy who throws no-look passes, which is crazy.
Right.
But just a few personnel tweaks on that offensive line. Make it easier for Wilson to throw,
to survive,
and to throw. Just make it easier for him. And we're only talking in terms of 12 to 15 passes spread out across the season, where if he would have had the opportunity, they might have translated to four more wins.
Well, who knows?
Four more wins.
Yeah, I mean,
we all know that you get opportunity breeds winning. And right now, what you need is an offensive line that is a little more solid, because they had 2 or 3 big injuries, and they weren't that great to begin with.
No, they came into the season in the bottom third in terms of offensive line efficiency.
And then guys got hurt.
And I doubt that they finished above that, because they really struggled at times.
And keep a tight end healthy the whole entire year. Russell Wilson made superstars out of 2 guys who were driving for Uber a week before they came on.
Yeah.
So
Will Dissly
and Dissly had a pedigree, but the other guy at the very end,
he was a blocking tight end in college, Will Dissly, but his pedigree was he was blocking people, not catching the football.
But he was still playing football.
No, granted,
that last guy that they brought in, I forget who it was. The last guy,
Uber driver.
It was an Uber driver, for God's sake.
Uber driver,
like legit Uber driver.
Yeah.
Not like the Uber drivers I talk about that played for the Miami Dolphins this year.
Well, listen, last NFL's talking, unless some news pops up in the next couple of weeks or so, which I'm sure will draft coming up. But great football
free
year.
agency's coming up in the middle of March.
Yeah, but
13th.
I'm saying, but for today, so just to put it to bed, because we got some XFL, we got other football we'll talk about.
We'll get to other football. Yeah. Before we move on from the NFL, Tom Brady's free agency. Is he blowing smoke, or is he really going to change teams?
Gone.
Where's he going?
I said weeks ago it was going to be either Indy, I thought, or San Diego.
Not Tennessee.
Why would he? Now, I don't see. Remember, his wife's going with him.
Right.
So, I mean, Tennessee, it just doesn't seem like that's the place to go. Tennessee?
Nashville, I'll have you know, Nashville is a cultural center.
I know it is. But it's not a football cultural center.
Right.
It's not going to push Tom's brand. Tom's brand now is about all this fitness stuff and this whatever other business he's gotten into. He's not pushing that brand in Nashville. So it's going to have to still be football related if that's his priority.
Whoa. Wait. First of all, Nashville is a major metropolitan area.
Mm-hmm.
It is a bit of a sprawl as well. There's a lot of their suburbs are actually cities of their own. We're talking about a Nashville area city, probably population of about 3.5 million, and they probably got about 4 or 5 million in the surrounding area. So it's a very large area.
Nashville is affluent. Okay. It's got a lot of things going on, but then I relate that to someone just like Miami. I mean, when you have choices and you have opportunities to do lots of fun things.
Right, but Tom Brady can fly to L.A. He can fly to New York. He can make himself available to those areas. What I'm saying is that for the fan base and
for things to do. Down here, I don't think coming here would even be a good thing for Tom's brand, because even though it's the Dolphins and it's this and that, whatever, again.
It would so be good for his brand, but I don't want him. I really don't want him.
I think Tom's leaving New England. I don't think he's going to be there anymore. I think certainly once he leaves and and that door's been closed, I think you'll hear a lot more about the reasons why, and more stuff will come out, and then we'll start to make sense of why he's finally going to leave New England. And then you'll be able to maybe even pick a side, because what's going to happen now is people are going to be forced to pick a side. What was it, Kraft? Was it Belichick? Is it Brady? Because they're clearly splitting ways. And at least in the short term, until people forget about this part of history, they're going to be like, they're going to be forced to choose. Why did Brady leave? Was it things that were said in the organization? Was it the fact that they never paid him? Was it this? Was it that? A lot of things are going to come out. So I think he's gone. Where, again, not 100% sure. I'm saying West. I'm saying San Diego is still a pretty good option.
Kraft has it. First of all, there's no football team in San Diego. You mean Los Angeles?
You know what I mean? The Chargers.
The Chargers. Let's just say the Chargers.
The Chargers.
I kind of agree with you as far as the location being advantageous for what he wants to do and for what his big shot supermodel wife is.
Yeah, it's huge.
But do not discount the New England connection in Tennessee. Do not discount that. And stop it with Indianapolis. Stop it. If he's not going to a major market, Indianapolis, large city, but really, honestly,
good offensive line, skill position players, great organization. To me,
then he's not moving for the same reasons. He's not going to locate for the same reasons that he would locate to L.A. There's no prestige in living in Indianapolis. If he goes to Indianapolis, he's looking at just straight football reasons.
I think he still wants to win, don't get me wrong, but I think it's not just that. I think there's other decisions, so that maybe that's what doesn't send him to Indianapolis.
Straight football, then Indianapolis and Tennessee are his two best bets.
No, I think it's Indy
If it's
first.
not straight football, then you're looking at Los Angeles, maybe Miami.
I think it's Indy first just solely because I know that
He loves Frank Reich.
there's a little history there.
Okay.
There's a little history
Well,
there.
here's a love connection for you. Bob Kraft loves him some Tom Brady. And there's a slight possibility that Bob Kraft could facilitate the move to Josh McDaniel and giving Belichick a how can we say it was promotion to the front office where he already is pretty much the chief operating football officer or whatever. But now he's going to move up to the front office as president of football operations. And then Josh Daniel will move in, and then you'll see Tom Brady happily come back for a hometown discount.
Bill Belichick is a coach. Okay?
I know.
He's not a
coach's
manager.
coach.
He's not a manager.
I know.
He's not taking any sort of executive position.
And there's only a slight chance of that. There's a slight chance of a power
He's
play.
a coach. He likes to be in dark rooms and in closets watching film. He doesn't handle
sounds
the
a little
press
pervy.
well. He doesn't handle things well. That wasn't from experience.
Sounds really,
yeah, that's from what I read.
really pervy.
Listen, Brady's gone. He's gone. I listened to a comment from T.J. Hushmanzada.
Hoshman's Ode.
He was asked the same question.
Championship.
And the question was, what chance does Brady have to stay in New England? And he said 0. I like to listen to former players that are in connections with some of the existing players in the league still, and maybe coaches, and they're a little bit more ear to the ground than the press. I mean, they're first line defense.
Fly on the wall.
Yeah, pretty much. And when that was said, 0. It wasn't 1, it was 0.
Wow.
To me, it just... And again, the stuff we've seen, the commercial, that one commercial where he's in the tunnel, you don't know if he's coming or going or whatever. It's just the madness of Brady. And I think what's going to happen is I think once he does go, I think his madness will be a little exploited. Because I think, obviously, there's going to be a lot of questions now, and there's going to be a need for answers. So I think you're going to see a little bit more exposed, a little
Belichick
more...
motivates his players.
A little more truth that's going to come out. It's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be
left
great
because
for
he
football.
didn't want to be a part of the team.
Can't wait to see
wagons.
it. Can't wait to see it happen. But he's gone. Where he's going yet will be determined. But he will no longer be a New England Patriot next year. That book is shut.
Okay. I like it. It's probably going to lead to the ascension of the New York Jets, but I like it. Moving on to another football-related issue. Not college, not the draft. No, I still don't want Tua Tagovailoa Hamalamanea. I don't want him to get picked at number 5 by the Dolphins. But the XFL.
Another football league.
Wow.
Oh, man.
Wow.
Yeah, did you watch
I was
any of it
impressed yesterday. Yeah, I mean, I want to get done with this so I can get out by 2 o'clock and watch the 2 and 5 o'clock games.
Okay.
And what was your assessment?
I watched a little bit of the first game.
You played fantasy XFL.
You had to.
You
had to. I did some research.
If you have a gambling problem, please seek help.
Shocker. I did some research. This is interesting. All right, just quick overview of the XFL, okay? Innovative, creative, quick takeaway from yesterday's game, reverse flea flickers, block punts, crazy extra points. I like the direction. I like the differences that it brings in terms of what maybe we're used to in the NFL. Quality-wise, talent-wise, we need to take a step back.
Well, hang on. First of all, the production and the different parts of the production, the tearing down of some of the fourth wall, like letting us see the process for instant replay. Mm-hmm. Okay, right now you have this nebulous in the NFL. You have this, and in the NCAAs even, you have this nebulous instant replay official, and in the NFL, I think the guy's back in New York.
I think he's actually a cloud. I don't think he's real. Yeah,
but they're back in New York now.
Yeah.
So there's somebody in an office And you can just imagine there's 10 people that at their various workstations that are tuning into each game, and that's the various officials for each game, each slate, up to 10 at a time. And you have this nebulous official that is doing the officiating, while these games, and granted you're getting them one at a time, but these games have an official there upstairs doing the instant replay officiating, and you have a camera on them. Okay, so you see, here's what we're going to do. And you get to hear the coaches. You get to hear the play calls. Okay, I know for a fact that Vince McMahon and the WWE, Titan Sports Entertainment, they sent their people, their media consultants, and each team had seminars. There's going to be no cussing. There's going to be no dropping N-bombs. There's going to be no ghetto talk. No over ebonics. Okay, if you need help, and they went to these guys, and we're talking about some guys who accepted the help. They sent their people to coach these players that potentially will have a microphone in their face.
Good.
Okay. All praise to the WWE because they did a better job. Now, granted, they have a smaller labor pool with which to deal.
And they got guys that are there that need paychecks.
Right.
So, and there's a little bit of a demand when you're in a situation like that to follow the rules.
Right.
I mean, you have to kind of abide by what your boss says.
Right. But if you were to tell, let's say, a guy like Aqib Talib,
who's making $10 million a year,
right, and you tell him, listen, we need you to cut back on the cussing.
Yeah, just toe the line.
Toe the line.
He's going to look at you like you've got 10 heads. Yeah, of course.
Call my agent.
Again, but that's where we are in society and culture anyway. But
right.
Everything you said is right on.
But that's part of what you're going to see. I'm telling you right now, everything that any other alternative football, any other spring football league does, the NFL has to pay attention. Okay, the NFL paid attention the last time the XFL was out. Okay, now the XFL, they were averaging the two games yesterday averaged like 17,000.
Just about, yeah.
Just about,
yeah.
And they're not giving tickets away; they're selling them.
Yeah,
and they're cheap tickets. They're like $20 a head.
Yeah.
Okay, you can take a family of four to a football game for less than $100.
A little more affordable for sure.
Right, definitely.
Yeah.
But what you're seeing is they're going into these smaller college stadiums, these soccer stadiums, these 30,000 and below or 25,000 and below capacity stadiums.
It would look silly to see him in Dallas Stadium playing a football game with 15,000 people.
Now,
like a high school
current
game.
Chargers Stadium is fine. I do believe the LA team is playing in the same stadium that the Chargers were playing in, and that's fine. I like it. I like it. They're not going after these giant NFL 65,000 to 90,000 seat stadiums and drawing 15,000 people because it looks like nobody's there.
Right. Well, optics are going to be important for this as well.
Right.
So, no question.
So they're definitely helping their optics. Okay, they don't have to charge an arm and a leg because also the big mistake back then, they used the LA Coliseum, they used NFL stadiums, and those NFL stadiums, they're not going to let you off. The rental of that stadium isn't going to make it possible for you to only charge $20 for a seat. Okay, you're still going to have to charge $80 to go see an XFL game.
Yeah, that just wouldn't work.
Okay,
Didn't work.
That's not going to work.
Yeah, the attendance in these games, like you said, was around 17,000.
Right.
The other expansion league, when they started at about 19,000 after the first few weeks.
Right, and
so
they
it's
were
pretty
in NFL stadiums.
NFL stadiums, yeah. So again, the optics are going to be very important. So
huge.
They've gotten off to a great start. The two games yesterday were very competitive in the sense
that Washington D.C. crowd, that Washington football crowd, they were on fire. It was great. I don't know if they were prompt. I don't know if it was piped.
Well,
but they were on fire.
They got a football team now, so it's nice. Yeah, I mean, so they're excited about actually watching decent football.
Cardale Jones, young man with an Ohio State pedigree, a guy who was actually a Heisman Trophy finalist, a guy who ended up becoming a 6th-round supplemental draft pick and never really got a chance to shine in the NFL.
Yeah, there are lots of reasons for these guys that are in this league that, for one reason or another, didn't get exactly. One guy wins the job, you don't get it. You get an injury right before camp starts, you miss your shot. I mean, you got to think about the numbers of players that are on these teams, and also this too. They have a practice squad. All these NFL teams have as well. So you have 100-man rosters essentially. So these guys are sitting just outside that bubble for one reason or another, which is still pretty elite. I mean, these guys are mostly ex-college players, ex-NFL players. But the only thing that concerns me in terms of when you start looking at numbers in these, because I was doing the fantasy perspective, you got to be careful. You may see gaudy numbers at times. It's going to be tough to assess a player's performance just based on numbers alone. Because I think talent-wise, I think you're going to have a gap. And I think as the seasons progress and things come into the league like attrition through injuries and other things like that, it's going to kind of thin out that pool a little bit more. Yes.
It's football.
And they're on board with a plan with X amount of guys. And it's, again, as they move forward, I think it's going to be difficult to maintain a quality of level unless they've got a slew ton of players waiting on reserve for these organizations. And they may, because they had tryouts and they had guys that were probably on the bubble then too.
Sure.
But again, they're on the bubble of a bubble, and again, you start lowering levels of bubbles. Right. Again, you start lowering the overall level of talent.
But every year, here's the beautiful part about this thing, and Vince McMahon knows this, okay? Every year, there's new talent that will slip through the cracks. There's new talent that will come down the pike and will be loaded in and will be, available to him. They'll filter through the NFL, and guys will filter. All the guys that are in the NFL now will filter down to him next year, because they won't get claimed by another team. Yeah. The NFL has always needed a developmental league.
I get it.
And the problem and they had NFL Europe, which was pretty cool, but the problem with that is that it was too big. They had 12 teams, they had 14 teams, and then they had to go back to 10 teams. Okay, the XFL has 8 teams. And it's about right. And if they want to expand to 2 more, they might be able to, but they're not going to go big. They're just not.
Well, it'll be based on
They don't have
demand.
to fill 4 months of schedule. They don't have to fill 5 months of schedule. They have to fill 2, maybe 3. 7 weeks, 9 weeks, 10 weeks, 2.5 months. That's all they have to fill. That's the time they have to fill, because then once you get back into April, get into May, then you're getting into the NFL, the bubble of the NFL offseason. The draft has happened. The free agency has happened.
There's going to be competition. You got March Madness coming up too.
Right.
I mean, there's going to be distractions.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. And you don't want to go up against those.
Yeah.
Ooh, hey, the chat room is on fire. Look out.
Yeah, I just talked to Carl. Carl's in town, and I think I'm going to be hanging out with him tomorrow, actually. He's going to be here. So,
Carl.
Yeah, he's here. He's in town. Hey, Carl.
Carl.
Just checked in. So again, overall pleasing. Some of the things I took away game-wise is the home teams yesterday dominated. I think maybe part of that is because of, again, this is new for everyone, the travel. You had Seattle having to fly across the country to D.C. I'm sure that took some sort of a toll and whatever it is.
There'll be development as far as and I think positive development, because you look at the coaches that they have on these. I mean, we're talking about we're talking about probably a recently retired wave of old school coaches, but these were all offensive and defensive minds that were actually a little ahead of their time while they were in. Guys like Kevin Gilbride,
coaching the Guardians. Yeah,
I mean, Kevin Gilbride is extremely successful. He wasn't a good head coach, but
he wasn't terrible.
He's terrible. Exactly.
Kevin got 36 years as a coach, 23 as a coordinator, and 7 as a head coach.
Right.
2-time Super Bowl champion as a coordinator.
Yeah.
With the Giants.
Yeah.
Some of his accolades, he developed Warren Moon. He developed Eli Manning.
June Jones,
and he was a head coach for 22 years.
June Jones.
No, I'm going back to Kevin Gilbride.
Oh, Kevin.
This is all Kevin Gilbride. Yeah. So again, there's a littering of some coaches that have some experience out there. The coordinators, offensive coordinators, have some experience out there.
Norman Chang. You guys got 3.
He's the offensive coordinator for DC, I think.
Right. I think he's got 3 national championships with USC, or 2 national championships with USC.
Yeah. Jerry Glanville is a defensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Vipers.
I can't wait. And they play today.
Yeah, they play
today. At 2:00 today.
Yeah.
I can't
and
wait.
their head coach is Mark Trestman.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Trestman
could have been a great. He could have been a great NFL.
There was
coach.
some controversy though around Mr. Trestman.
He had an ego on him.
There's some things going on there in where he was.
Could have been a contender.
Yeah. So listen, more power to the XFL. It's football. We all love football.
Sure.
And obviously, if you can put fantasy to it, then we all love it even more.
Sure.
But not only that aside, developmental for sure. The NFL is watching. I'm sure they've been watching.
I'm telling you one thing. It is a great venue for football nerds.
Yeah, they've got
because
scouts.
they let you behind the scenes.
Yeah.
They let you get behind the curtain.
Yeah, and people want exposure. People want to see those sorts of things.
You got NFL people who we can't make the players do that. This stuff is going to come up in the NFLPA's renegotiation of the class of the what do you call it? The CBA.
CBA, the collective bargaining agreement.
Yeah,
that's in 2 years.
It's going to come up. You're going to have to give interviews as you walk off the field. It's going to be great. You are not going to be able to get the NFL to allow that kind of access because just the sheer amount of F-bombs and shit talking and just noise that you get on the sideline from an NFL game, along with the spitting and the cussing and it's going to be it's going to be a shit show if the NFL tries it, unless they get, like I said, they get together with each team and they send in people like the WWE did and say, everybody brush up on your media
quality control people that understand.
You're going to be very media friendly, and you're going to be on TV. You're not going to be like who was the oh God. Who was the kid for the Chiefs that came on and dropped an F-bomb right in the middle, right after the Super Bowl? Frank, what's his face, the defensive end. He dropped an F-bomb right at the post-game celebration. I'm like, yes. Oh, and the dump didn't get it too. I told you we were gonna win this, motherfucker. Yeah. Oh, it was great. It was awesome.
Yeah.
So you're going to end up having a. Look at it. XFL because the WD show. They are Frank is checked in the Brooklyn Monster. Captain Krabby. The only thing I saw yesterday that had anything to do with the WWE was there was a wide receiver that caught a touchdown. A really nice pass too. There was a wide receiver that caught a touchdown, and when he got up, he caught it, rolled through, came up, and he threw his hands up, and he did the Randy Orton gesture, if you will. Randy Orton climbs up on the second turnbuckle and does this to the crowd when he gets in the ring.
Yeah.
And he did that. I was like, yes.
Well, listen, from a business perspective.
Oh, it was awesome.
Well, think about it.
It's a show.
The WWE is trying to bring people to the XFL from the WWE.
It's great.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why they're doing it as well, because they want to just, again, increase the fan base, increase the scope of what they're trying to do, and make everybody happy.
I didn't see any hot cheerleaders, though. I was very, very disappointed.
I didn't really watch enough of it to really. I watched about 30 minutes of the football.
Cheerleaders back, because with the old XFL, let me tell you, the old XFL was a circus. Okay, and you saw the mistakes that they made. They overextended. They had too many teams. Yeah. They had their overhead was way too high when it came to stadiums and all of that. And they learned from those mistakes, and they learned to market it a little better. But I miss the really hot cheerleaders, and I miss JR. I miss Jim Ross and Jesse the Body Ventura and Jerry the King Lawler. Is a three-man play-by-play team for a football game. I gotta tell you, there's nothing better, nothing more. You can take drunk Don Meredith, you can take drunk Joe Namath and drunk Howard Cosell, which we had all seen on many occasions on Monday Night Football in the 70s.
Can we throw John Madden in there too?
Just turn them loose. No, not Madden. Madden would be great for the XFL because he's a football nerd.
Right, but he used to hit the ball a little bit too.
Yeah, but he not on the air.
Well, him and
Summerall
just
used to
before.
tear it
Oh
up
my
afterwards.
God! Yeah.
Him and Summerall were legendary.
Yeah.
Okay, but nonetheless, the three of them were hilarious because, well, first of all three of them were football knowledgeable. Okay, but with Jim Ross and his accent and the way he calls things, and hey, that's a touchdown. I was like, okay, now suplex the guy. Something like that. But it was just pure entertainment. I go back on YouTube and I old XFL Jim Ross. His calls were great.
Yeah, legendary.
His calls were great. He was fantastic, but they've got good crews. They've partnered with ABC and ESPN, so you're going to get guys like Steve Levy calling games. He did a great job yesterday. I mean, being the announcer nerd that I am, and they also partnered with Fox, and Fox Sports handles football very well as well. So I see it as a good product that has an opportunity to improve and progress. And Vince knows, like I said, Vincent Kennedy McMahon, as much as anybody wants to okay boomer him and say that maybe the wrestling business has passed him by, he's got people handling that. He has moved on to his football product. Believe me, he's still very involved in his wrestling product, but he is involved in his football product, and he's using those really smart principles that he learned from becoming a billionaire wrestling promoter. He has learned from his mistake the first time, and we are getting a slicker, better, more football nerd-friendly and family-friendly football product. You try to say that shit 3 times fast.
Say it 1 time. Never mind 3 times. Just help us out here. Give it to me once. 100%. I will throw one more XFL thing at you today if anybody's betting the XFL, because you can do that.
And they tell you the over-under. They tell you the point line. They tell you the point spread. They tell you Fox Bet is making a mint off of this.
What do you think is going to help drive ratings? Is if you got $50 on the over, no question, you're watching the football game. I will say this today, as
the defenders covered
kind of angle, if you're interested in this, the coaching
9.5 points they covered
for St. Louis today. Okay,
yeah.
Now it's an ex-Steeler, so I'm a little partial. Jonathan Hayes, he was a tight end. He played for the Steelers for a while, but the head coach of the St. Louis Battlehawks today, which I love that name by the way, Battlehawks. Oh yeah, Jonathan Hayes. Okay, this is his coaching experience. First of all, they list his first accolade as he played in the NFL.
Okay.
So that works. He had 12 years. He plays tight end KC Pittsburgh. 2nd round pick in the 85 draft. Yep. He was a tight end coach for 15 years with the Bengals. Okay. And he was a special teams coordinator, whatever it is. So now he's the head coach of this team. Well, he was looking for a defensive coordinator, so he hired his brother, Jay Hayes, who has about 19 years of experience, 13 years defensive line. Again, as much as these teams are trying to find players to fit the model and talent level and success, I think coaching is going to be the same thing. And I think that lack of experience there, at least early on, for some of these teams who, by the way, is traveling today, bet against St. Louis today.
Okay.
That's my angle.
Well, there's also murmurs that you have 5 African-American head coaches, and you have...
They took a lot from the demographic of the Northeast. There's a lot of Steeler influence in this league.
Right.
There's a lot of coaches and stuff from like the Colts organizations, obviously. So there's a lot of... It was demographically chosen, I guess. Maybe it was just simpler to do that.
Right.
And they've got great... I mean, these are all great football people.
Right.
But again, head coaching
just
organizations...
a coincidence?
Everything is new. And it just...
They're trying to out-Rooney the Rooney rule in the NFL?
Again, just to kind of check all the boxes early on, I guess, which is fine. I mean, not to say these guys... I'm not saying Jonathan Hayes is a bad football coach. I don't know if he's a good football coach. Or is it Jonathan Hayes? Yeah, I don't know if he could be a great football coach.
Right.
But I got to pick an angle if I'm betting a game.
Right.
And I'm going against
nobody
coaches...
knew who John Harbaugh was.
And I'm going against coaches that maybe don't have the experience. And when you start racking up, again, check the boxes. You got young coaches, inexperience, travel, again, new league, a lot of things formatting. If you got to pick a side here, it's the XFL. You're betting in week 1. I'm betting against St. Louis today.
Sure.
So I'm on record for that.
Sure.
So that's all.
Green coaching staff.
Yeah, go with that angle. Might as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Works for me.
We got NBA too. A lot of NBA stuff.
All right. Well, what do you want to transition out of though? Because we're football. First of all, let's check in with the chat room so we can have something to segue off of.
Yes. No Antonio Brown.
No Antonio Brown. As a matter of fact, no.
Although there was a rumor.
No.
Rumor. Brady and Brown were going to go somewhere together, or that wherever Brady goes, he's taking Antonio Brown with him.
Well, why? Because he's loaning Antonio Brown his sports psychologist?
Or he remembers what it's like to actually have a receiver that can catch the ball downfield. I mean, that would be kind of cool, too.
I need to see proof. Antonio Brown needs to pass a psychological test, and he's probably going to undergo some sort of a penalty.
League mandatory of whatever it is.
He's probably also going to be suspended a couple of games.
I understand. But I think Tom understands the talent on that.
I'm going to need a note from a doctor.
He understands, again, having somebody like that who he hasn't had for a very long time. Even if he gets him in the second half of whatever season he is in, wherever team he plays for, he'll take him.
He needs to be, he does need to be checked for CTE.
Yeah.
I mean, like a living
I don't know.
recipient of the brain damage.
I don't want to. The whole CTE.
Cranial trauma encephalopathy. Is that what it's called?
Yeah,
Cranial trauma encephalopathy. Yeah, you got hit in the head one time too many.
I get it, but I think it's so easy to use that as a crutch now in the NFL for like an Aaron Hernandez. Okay, CTE caused him to kill those people. Really, is that what the argument they're presenting here?
No, homophobia caused him to kill.
No, he was a
people.
fucking psychopath. How about that? Okay, so I mean,
he was afraid he was gay.
I get the whole CTE thing, and there's credence to that, and there needs to be a lot more work done on studying the effects of what that is, and clearly any changes that need to be made in the NFL to help prevent those damages later on in these guys' careers. I'm all about it. Okay, spend as much as you need to, but please, let's not use CTE as the new crazy man football crutch that if you get hit in the head a few times, you're going to go out and start killing people, acting weird, going off on Twitter. No. The person first, CTE comes second.
Wait. Because you know as well as I know that occasionally when I do something stupid, first thing I blame is too many chair shots to the head.
Yeah.
Because I am the champ. But one too many chair shots, one too many shots to the head playing football, and I mean the same can go for Terry, the gentleman that we worked with, who is also a former WWF superstar, who has probably taken about 1,000 times as many chair shots as I have. So the brain gets rattled around, and sometimes you just go.
I agree with that.
Okay, but we've seen him get earholed by Vontaze Burfict. We've seen him go down on the field with one hand up like that, just out like a light. Right. So,
but again, I'm not downplaying CTE. I'm not an expert. I'm not a doctor. I'm not claiming to know everything. I'm just saying. It's just when you have something like that is so serious and so debilitating.
You need to get checked out.
Well, my point is that it can't be the underlying reason for why every ex-athlete loses their mind.
It's a reason, but not an excuse.
It could be part of the problem, yes. But listen, I'm sure you can go back from, and we're talking about Antonio Brown here, from childhood and plot out a series of events in his life that have certainly contributed to the reasons why he's acting the way he is now as an adult. The only reason why...
Same here.
Here's the difference. The difference now is he is enabled to act like this because he has the means. He has the audience. He has the power. He has the money, at least for now. And he can do that. He can get on his soapbox and be heard.
Right.
As a child screaming out, you don't get those opportunities. You scream out in different ways. As a teenager, as in school, and all these other things that have, again, I think, unfortunately, as me being a Steeler fan, I had wished that they had done more for him sooner. Right. Instead of enabling, which most franchises do in these situations, because they look past the issues and they replace those with the talent that the player represents and can perform by. And that's the sadness of the tragedies of these sorts of players.
It's also a talent of a coach and an organization to be able to reel in a petulant player and get him to continue to produce and not be disruptive. But eventually that behavior gets to the point where it's disruptive and then they got to go.
Which is clearly why he was let go.
Yeah. Well, all right. The case in point with him is, and we've heard this through back channels and on Sports Talk Radio, that Drew Rosenhaus, his quote former manager, has also been the man who has been bothering him to get professional help and sending doctors and having doctors email him and say, "Come by and see me. Come by and see me." Drew dropped him, but Drew has also been trying to help him. Okay, because, I mean, we all know Drew Rosenhaus is Jerry Maguire, and a big part of Jerry Maguire's deal was that he cared about the people that he was representing.
He is as close to Antonio as anybody probably is.
Right.
And we don't know Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown may have the biggest heart in the world.
Right.
But it doesn't matter if your chemistry and your mind is a mess.
In Miami, they think he's got the biggest heart in the world because he's put a lot of money back into the hood where he's from.
Okay, so again, he's that sort of guy. Great, more power to Antonio Brown. But if you're not
you're crazy.
You need help. Go get help.
Go get help.
And the people that could have helped him failed him and did not help him. And now he's at the point where it's at critical stage, where he's lost a career. He's alienated himself from teammates, friends, I'm sure family, whatever family he still has left.
Oh, yeah.
And other situations. So it's at critical point right now.
Right.
And there's been opportunities along the way for him to get help. And he just hasn't gotten it, whether it's been on his own accord or if you can't go to yourself and pick yourself up, get in a car, go to the friggin' doctor, then a team that's $1 billion franchise and other teams and players or whatever could have picked this guy up and said, "Antonio, let's take a ride."
Right, and it's good to have mentors, but sometimes even mentors aren't. You don't listen to them. I mean, listen, I grew up in a working class family, okay, where at times both my parents had to work at the same time. My mom tried to be a housewife for as much as she possibly could, but even she was the kind of person that liked to work. But I grew up, at times you could say poor, but my family worked hard, working class, okay? I never really had money, okay? And then when I started in the adult entertainment business, and suddenly I started making rock star money.
Yeah, but when you didn't have money, did you really ever want for anything? I mean, were you like,
no,
that's what I'm saying. So it's a mindset.
Right.
It's where you're from. It's your environment. It's your family atmosphere. It's all those things.
Right, but even that got out of control for me. Okay, when I was, and I didn't get into the business until I was 30. Okay, but I went from making, just enough to live and survive, not even save any money, to having money I could burn, I could throw, I could travel every year. I could go to Las Vegas, I could go to New York, go wherever I wanted to go, okay, and do this and do that and go out and pop bottles and act like an idiot, okay, and it got away from me for a little bit, okay. Believe me, I should own 2 houses, a boat, and and 2 cars. The money that got away from me. And the idiot that I acted on to, the idiot how I acted to a few people in my life back then.
We've all made bad choices.
We've all made bad choices and decisions. But I brought myself back from the brink. And some friends that I listened to pulled me back from the brink. Because it could have gone very wrong on a lot of occasions. Now, do I have a lot of fun memories? Sure. But I got full of my own shit.
Well, the moral of the story
and that's
for
with
you,
him. I mean, I add 3 zeros to that.
Yeah, but the moral of the story for you is that when you started to slip and slide, then you were pulled out.
Right, but
add
3 zeros and add tens of millions of people knowing who I am, making me famous. And I'm on TV every week, and I am an elite participant in my sport or business.
I get all these things. Okay, enable the crazy.
I mean, I was some idiot under the radar working at a club in Pompano that was just on the come up, but I had no idea how to handle. For a couple of years, I had no idea how to handle the money. I had no idea how to handle the attention. Yeah. I had no idea how to conduct myself. And I finally had to, after a couple of incidences where it's like, holy shit, I look at my bank account and I'm broke, and here I am, this guy making rock star money. It's like, how the hell am I broke?
Yeah.
How am I bouncing a rent check?
Well, we all have the wake-up calls.
I don't have a drug problem, but
he has never gotten his wake-up call. I mean, there's been many instances now, as an adult, okay, that he's had opportunities to do an about-face.
Yeah.
And he hasn't made that choice.
And that's how big the situation is with him.
Clearly. So my point further is that as an organization, I think it's part of your responsibility to, if these employees are going to work for you and generate income for you and be a part of your brand, then you're responsible for everything that goes along with it.
Yep.
And you're entitled to certainly the backlash and criticism if things don't go the way they should.
Yep.
And in this situation with Antonio Brown, every step along the way, apparently things have been covered, and he's been enabled to continue to act the way he is now. We're to the point where it's critical now. And now it's something he needs severe help. So hopefully he gets it, and hopefully he can be playing football. We want Antonio Brown's talent on the field. Okay, you don't want guys like that not playing football. He was one of the best receivers for a period of time. And there's no question in my mind, as a young guy, he can come back and be extremely productive in the NFL.
For at least a couple of years.
For however long it is. But you want this to turn out right. And I would hope that people that are with him want the same thing. But to this point, I can't defend that argument because it hasn't happened. So,
okay, then.
Basketball.
How about basketball?
Yeah, we got
You're just dying to say something about basketball.
I just did so much research on basketball this week.
You did so much research on basketball, and we're 4 minutes over an hour, and now buckle up, kids. Here comes an hour of basketball.
Let's just throw some headlines at you. Toronto Raptors won their 14th in a row yesterday.
Good for them.
Here's the ironic part. I didn't know this.
That Nurse kid is a really, really good head coach. I mean, I put him on the same level as an Eric Spoelstra type of a young mind in the NBA.
They are without Lowry the last few games. Obviously, their star point guard. Obviously, no Kawhi Leonard, been there all year. He's gone. 14 in a row. That is the longest winning streak for any professional team in Canada's sports history. Now, that blew my mind because I'm thinking hockey. All the great teams Montreal had in the 70s and the 80s, and going back in the 50s
and
I mean, God, 14 in a row. That's the record. Well, congratulations, Toronto. They hold the record now for 14 consecutive wins.
Is that crazy?
Yeah, it blew my mind that no Canadian sports organization has ever won 14 games in a row, but apparently not. So they're the one team who's done it.
Not even the Edmonton Eskimos or the Edmonton Oilers with Wayne Gretzky and Messier. And
Not 14 straight wins. Yes, amazing.
That is nuts.
Amazing to me. Couldn't believe it. Well, congratulations, Toronto. Toronto currently sits at, I believe, number.
They're 4th seed.
They're 3, I think.
No,
they're 2. They're 2. They're ahead of Boston. Some of the things I look at, the argument every year in the NBA, the power in the West, pretty evident. Okay, in terms of not so much in the East, players, star power. Records. I want to go by numbers, okay? They're pretty close this year in terms of records, East versus West, West versus East, the bottom feeders. The one thing I will point out about the NBA, if the playoffs were to start today, the 7 and 8 seeds in the East are considerably under 500. Oof. They're bottom washers. Yeah, you got Brooklyn sitting right now at a 451 win percentage. They're 5 under. And Orlando sitting at the 8 is 9 games under 500 right now. So,
and actually, funny enough, even though their record doesn't show it, they're a pretty good young team.
They lost Vukovic for a while, their star center. He was hurt for a few games. I've seen Aaron Gordon the last few games play extremely well.
He's a stud.
Markel Fultz runs the point for them. He had a great college career. He's starting to get his legs. They're not a good basketball team, but they're a playoff team in the East. So second half, I guess we'll see. 30 games down the stretch. NBA is weird. The All-Star games in most sports, at least baseball, hockey, is about the middle of the season. Basketball, they go about 60 games.
Yep.
Get the All-Star break in and then go like another month and a half of basketball, and then they go to the playoffs.
Right.
Now, the playoffs go about 10 years, but, I mean...
Well, they want their stars to be a little fresh, you know?
So they do cut that break there. So we're coming up on the All-Star break here, I think next week, end of next week, maybe is the All-Star break. I'm not 100% sure, but it's coming up next 1 or 2 weeks.
Wait, let's talk about the important part. Let's talk about the Miami Heat.
Yes.
Okay. The 3rd seed? How are they still the 3rd seed?
They're the 4th seed right now. They've lost a couple of games in a row. They lost last night again at home.
Bad West Coast trip. Road trip has been horrible.
The Heat have played great. The recent acquisition of Iguodala, even though he hasn't
Jimmy
played
Butler's
yet this year.
Now, Jimmy Butler's been missing games.
Iguodala, I mean, listen, the Heat are a playoff team, and they're hoping to stay in that top 4 because then they get home court, and they get the extra game if needed. The thing about the Heat, Spoelstra, we've said it, I've said it, amazing coach. What he's done with so little, some of the problems they've had, obviously that when James left and the Bosch unfortunate situation with his heart and whatnot. Amazing job with guys that are fill-ins for the most part, at least off the bench. And talent-wise, Butler obviously has been playing well. He's hurt now. Listen, the Heat are good. The Heat at one point had 1 home loss up until about 2 weeks ago.
Right.
So, the Heat are for real. The Heat play a good defensive, aggressive style basketball. Bam Adebayo is their starting center. He's a rim protector.
Young man's been balling out on the West Coast swing.
They're pretty good.
He has been balling out.
Kendrick Nunn
he's the only
at the
guy
point
going right now.
Well, Kendrick Nunn's been playing really well too at the point, and they've got a good bench. So yeah, the Heat are viable.
Yeah, but Jimmy Butler really is their mojo, though.
No
Jimmy
question.
Butler is obviously the straw that stirs the drink on that team.
No question.
And with him being out the last 3 games, and they're 0-3 is the last 3 games he's been out of.
I will tell you this though about the Heat's bench: is
send him home.
They perhaps have one of the best bench 6 guys who, in my opinion, could be 6th man of the year. Is Goran Dragic. This year, he's been so good off the bench this year. His turnover ratio is like 6-1 in terms of assist to turnover. He's averaging, I think, 14 points and 6 off the bench.
And they have reportedly turned down trade offers for him.
They would never. I mean, that guy, he's been there a while now, and he leads the second unit, and that's a large reason why they've been so good.
He is one of the guys that has led the charge for the valuation, the viability, and the value of a really, really good 6th man. Because he's a very expensive 6th man. He's spent $16-17 million a year to be the guy coming off the bench.
And he's
still getting in 30-35 minutes.
Well, a little less. He's averaging about 26 a game overall.
32 the other night.
Well, he may have played. Kendrick Nunn missed a game during the week, but his minutes are pretty much locked in as a starting point guard, second unit.
Because Spoelstra is a good package coach, and he packages his players very well.
They're doing it well. They're doing it right. The Heat are a contender, in the East at least. Now, again, I will say this about the East and the West, the comparisons that are drawn. The bottom 3 teams in the East, are terrible. The bottom 4 or 5 teams are terrible. In the West, there's a little more balance once you get to the middle, 9 through, let's say, 12. So there's a little more competitive balance in the West than the East. So the East, you would think, are feeding off the West. But I looked at the records for the top 3 teams in the East and the top 3 teams in the West, and there's only a few games that separate them in terms of win percentage, in terms of how they face off against the other conference.
Right.
So top 3 teams in the East versus the West, I think there are maybe 20 or so games over 500, and West versus the East, it's not much more. So the top 3 teams, balance-wise, seems to be about even in terms of power. But over a 7-game series, once it comes down to those last 2 series, you're looking at 4 teams. I mean, who's going to beat the Clippers? I mean, I don't see it. The Sixers made a huge move. They finally went out and got shooters. They took 2 kids from Golden State, Robinson and Alec Burks.
Too little, too late.
Maybe. The problem with that team is just what are they going to do with Simmons and what are they going to do with Embiid?
Well, one of them is going to have to go because they can't get along.
Clearly. And
Clearly.
if Elton Brand, as a GM, is coming out and recognizing it as being a problem, then there's a lot more being said that clearly would suggest that there is a situation there.
Well,
so
they're both head cases.
they're both alphas. Okay, that's
they're
fine.
both head cases.
And they're both not completely stable.
Yeah, because when they're not on, they are really off.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the knock on Simmons is the fact that he's just not a good shooter. But that's just not his game, okay? The kid is as fluid and as dominant on both sides as I've seen in the NBA in a long time for a guy that's a 6'9" point guard, okay?
But you have to be able to put it up, especially from 3 points.
He's taken 2 3-point shots this year. He's hit them both, okay? His coach, Brant Brown, has been telling him, shoot the ball, shoot the ball, shoot the ball. So he shot a 3 last game. And it was, I think, to end the first half, just almost like one of these, perfect form, nailed it. Same thing happened a few games later. Same situation. End of the half, nailed it. 2 for 2 this year on threes.
He's going to have to get those. I'm telling you, he's going to have to get those attempts up to like 10 per game.
Here's the thing. It's
10.
You see it in sports all the time. You see coaches try and build offenses in football or schemes around their best players. In this situation with Simmons, there's no different. I think Simmons overall is a better player than Embiid, okay? He's not physically as dominating, clearly. It's just different styles of game. But if you give me 1 or 2 guys to start a franchise, either Embiid or Simmons, it's Simmons 100% of the time. I mean, the guy's a pure passer. He's a pure defender. He doesn't shoot well, but you got other guys on the court that will. That's what his job is to set up the shooters.
Who has more trade value?
Probably Embiid. Although, again, it's tough to say. That's why I don't think Simmons goes, because they know that they can't replace a Simmons. Embiid can stretch the floor. He is kind of, I'm not saying he's a stretch 4, he's too big, but he's very athletic for a 5. But look what Houston did. They got rid of Capella. They're playing a 6'7" center in P.J. Tucker.
Oh, the ultimate in small ball.
Okay, so you're seeing a shift now towards pace of play, speed, and not so much in terms of rim protection, but in terms of who puts up the most threes.
Right. And why is everybody surprised at that Houston paradigm? Because everywhere D'Antoni has gone, the team got smaller and faster.
Exactly.
Everywhere. Phoenix, New York.
Yeah. For a short time.
Small, fast.
Yeah.
Zoom, 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 zoom.
Yeah.
Okay.
But again, he recognizes, again, that that's where the league is headed. You don't have your dominant big centers anymore that play a game. At least they don't play big minutes. Why? Because they can't keep up on the floor. I mean, your prototypical center in the next 5 to 10 years could be a Zion Williamson, where they're trying to discredit his body style now, but his body style, because he can still not be 6'10" or 7 foot and be that athletic, maybe you can carry that weight at 6'8" and 6'9" and still be as effective.
Well, he's only 6'6", I understand.
Okay, so it's 6'6".
6'6", 270.
He can carry that position effectively now because
he's the size of a defensive end.
I know, but he runs like a cornerback. So I mean, he's very, very athletic.
He can jump completely out of the gym. I mean, I think the kid can touch the top of the backboard.
I saw him take a ball away from Giannis on Thursday night. That was
like
impressive.
A grown man.
It was impressive.
That, kid.
Like, I'm 19 and you're a freak, but I'm stronger than you still.
Let me show you what a freak is.
Yeah. So again, no, the NBA is in a good spot. The playoffs are going. I mean, obviously, the unfortunate tragedy with Kobe Bryant and everything that happened along with that is a huge, huge stain in the NBA.
We haven't even gotten to the funeral yet, bro.
I mean, that's certainly an unfortunate and horrible tragedy. That's going to be a black mark for this year. But if we can get past it to some degree and still put the product on the court and play, the Lakers This is LeBron James's year. I know people are against them, and I know we knocked him, Anthony Davis. Now, Anthony Davis has missed 9 games this year so far. I think most of it's been maintenance. He's got a questionable tag every game that he plays. So I think once it comes playoff time, there's going to be no matchups. The Clippers don't match up against Anthony Davis. Nobody the Clippers can put on the floor can match up against Anthony Davis.
Listen, we're looking at a conference finals of all LA conference final, Clippers versus Lakers.
I believe that.
And we're looking at Milwaukee versus Miami in the East.
I think Miami's got enough. But Milwaukee for sure. I think, again, Toronto. I think it's those 2 teams again.
Milwaukee, Miami.
I'm hoping that would be awesome. But I think Miami's close. Miami's close, but they're not there yet.
Well, okay. To wrap this segment up, one last late-breaking bit of news. The Milwaukee Bucks have acquired Marvin Williams to shore up their bench a little bit and help with the scoring, and the rich get richer.
Let me give you a little about Marvin Williams. I'm very well familiar about him. 24-minute guy, again, bench guy.
North Carolina Tar Heel.
Plays a power forward position. Been in the league a while. He's a journeyman now. So, yeah, he's got some experience, rebounds a little bit, can shoot the 3. Okay, he's got that sort of game.
He's definitely quality bench depth.
He hasn't played a lot in the last year plus. He had some injuries, and I've been watching him because I've used him a few times sporadically in DFS.
With Atlanta.
He was with a few teams, Atlanta, but he was also last year with someone else that's eluding me right now. But again, he's a good guy to have on your bench. He's a good guy that can come in. He can play the 4, and he's a guy that can shoot the 3. So again, Milwaukee does fatten up a little bit. If you look at the starting 7 of the Sixers now, with those 2 off the bench and Robinson and Burks, Tobias and Embiid and Richardson and Simmons, on paper, those guys match up against anybody in the NBA in terms of talent. Okay, so it's coaching, it's limitations. We talked about head cases between Embiid.
You got the 2 head cases that I completely listen. I have completely. You talk about checking boxes in fantasy. Here's the box. Head case, no chance. No chance. They get no chance for the finals.
I agree, 100%.
No chance to make the finals.
100%.
I don't give them a chance to make it out of the first round.
I agree. If you can't get it figured out by now, 30-year together, then once crisis hits or once pressure hits, it's not going to work.
Somebody's got to go.
You're not. And again, one game, yes, but in series, when you're not the more focused team, it's
Elton Brand. Choose one.
Yeah.
And then bolster the team and finish building the team around the one that you keep.
Trade the big man. Again, injuries. Simmons is going to be playing for the next 15 years. You can't say that about Embiid. He's already had injuries. So, yeah. So, anyway, that would be my choice.
Don't trade him to Miami.
Move on.
Although, who knows? A guy like that, trade him to Miami.
Adebayo is our starting center.
He buys into the Miami culture.
No.
Okay, what? Adebayo can play the 4.
No, he can't.
He buys into the Miami culture. Then the Miami culture could make another monster. Just ask Hassan Whiteside. Hassan Whiteside, a guy who was just as petulant and just as much of a baby head case, but not as physically gifted.
That's why they shipped him, and that's why they play Adebayo.
But look what they made. They made a player out of him, though. And now Adebayo, a Krzyzewski kid.
Yes.
Yeah, a Coach K kid.
Very
what
well.
A shock.
Very coachable, obviously.
What a shock.
Can't you see what the winning formula is here with Miami and Spoelstra and those sorts of things?
System.
Coachable kids. Coachable players.
System.
Players that want to learn, that appreciate where they are and maximize their potential. And that's what a good coach does.
Right. And you know where that comes from? Okay? San Antonio. Okay,
the ultimate model.
Yeah, Popovich has been like, this is the Spurs way, period. And then he got good players that bought into the Spurs way, and it became tradition, sort of the Patriot way.
Patriots way too, same thing.
It's like, hi kid, how you doing? Here's how we do crap.
It's easy to see why success follows those sorts of organizations.
Sure,
for sure.
Sure. Okay, are you done? Are you over basketball? Because we're about an hour and 40 minutes away from kickoff.
Yeah, I'm good.
For the XFL.
I got a lot, but I'm good.
I have some stuff to do, like laundry or something.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, you need to do your laundry for sure. All right.
Well,
one more goodbye to the chat room real quick.
Let's say goodbye to the chat room. I think Carl still needs a ride from the airport.
We're on a big monkey. Done. Lost its appeal now. Oh, you're supposed to say.
Yeah. Because saying stuff like that isn't in any way, shape, or form publicity-wise damaging. At least not at this point where we only got 4 people watching, 5 people watching.
I don't think I ever said that, but maybe maybe I did reference something about something,
Carl,
but nothing about that. Who knows? I
think Carl said it, and he's just trying to put it off on you.
But what do they? Isn't there a psychological term that they call it?
Yeah, it's imprinting.
Or reflection?
Or deflecting.
Deflecting. Interesting.
He's deflecting it on you.
Yeah.
That's okay. I have a whole stand-up comedy thing about that, but it was a joke. You're gonna have to have a talk with Carl.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, Carl, and thanks, Brooklyn Monster. Frankie is. I guess he's off the Antonio Bryan thing, or he's just not paying attention. A young lady with the same last name as yours, by the name of Brianna, was in the chat room.
That's me.
That's you?
Yeah, that's
you're
me.
on Brianna's computer?
On Brianna's computer, yeah.
What is wrong with you?
I've been doing this since day one. I've said this from day one. I am officially on Brianna's computer. I like her computer better than my own. Speaking of which, hello, Brianna. Hello, my amazing wife, Diana.
All right.
Before we go, can't forget those.
All right. Well, guys, thanks so much for tuning in, everybody in the chat room, including Brianna. And make sure you tune in next week at 11 o'clock. We're going to keep up with the XFL. We may even do an XFL fantasy segment as the season progresses.
You got to get a handle on the numbers.
You got to get a handle on it.
I'm in a good spot today. I've got some interesting angles that I'm working on. So,
well, we'll bring that to you.
We'll
next
get there.
week, though. We'll save it for next week.
We'll get there.
Save it for the donuts next week.
Oh yeah.
So make sure you check out the Maz on at Instagram at MLBJoyUs. How many days until pitchers and catchers?
3. We didn't even talk about baseball.
Yeah, and that's
holy crap.
I'm gonna get us out of here before he starts talking about baseball.
3 days, people.
Baseball and aliens, man. All you do is say baseball and aliens,
Why
and
can't
then
we go to 1 o'clock today. Let's talk about aliens.
With aliens playing baseball.
Yes, they're here.
We're out of here. All right. Go check us out at Gonzo Radio Sports Desk on Instagram, at Gonzo Radio Show on TikTok. Go to TikTok because I do some sports content on there too. That's at Gonzo Radio Show, and of course the at Gonzo Radio Podcast on Instagram. And I would send you to Facebook, but I'm kind of on an anti-Facebook kick right now.
They even booted
Facebook
me
sucks.
for something, and I've never even
Facebook
on there.
sucks. You suck, Facebook.
Listen, you suck, right Facebook. How about that? Yeah. And one more thing, F the Astros while we're at it too.
Yeah. Okay.
Wait till next week.
See, I don't want to get him started on.
Wait till next week.
But if you have to keep up with us on Facebook, then by all means check out at the Gonzo Radio Network group and the Gonzo Radio Sports Desk group and page. Like the pages. Just type in Gonzo and like everything Gonzo.
You know what you haven't seen so
Make
far?
Make America Gonzo again.
You know we haven't seen so far?
What?
We haven't seen either Bregman or the other short guy who plays for them.
He's trying to get back into baseball. All right. I'm going to get us out of here before he goes on a baseball rant. I'm Big Daddy Gonzo. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you again next week at 11 o'clock. Don't forget Chat Fight at 7 p.m. tonight, live. They're going to talk about the Super Bowl halftime show and about how they like it, how they don't like it. And, of course, the Gonzo Radio Show tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Me and Sam Singh. And I have a special surprise guest. I hope it's going to be good. We'll see you guys next week.